Roger Ailes shown the door. Then Fox doles out $20 million to Gretchen Carlson, the former anchor whose sexual abuse allegations brought him down. Does this open the door for more suits against Fox? Well, a legal panel is here to discuss. Then the Trump University case back in the news. Trump donated to the Florida Attorney General's campaign, coincidentally, right before that same AG decided not to pursue a case against him. Trump says it was not a bribe. The question is, will our panel agree? Also, the Bridgegate trial set to begin, jury selection starting this week. Chris Christie, he is not facing charges yet, but he is still a huge part of this. Could the New Jersey governor be forced to take the stand? Evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us this Wednesday night. Well, big new developments in that sexual harassment case against Fox News and more specifically Roger Ailes. Now, the accuser, Gretchen Carlson, just got a huge settlement as well as, interestingly, an apology.
Big lawsuit, big payout.
$20 million.
Settled a sexual discrimination lawsuit.
Fox News making headlines of its own. Just 2 months after the bombshell lawsuit by former Fox and Friends anchor Gretchen Carlson against the powerful Fox News chief Roger Ailes for sexual harassment, the network's parent company settling for $20 million. The announcement after a scathing New York Magazine article alleging that Carlson had been secretly recording conversations with Ailes since 2014. According to the report, in one recording, he allegedly told her, quote, "I think you and I should have a sexual relationship a long time ago, and then you'd be good and better, and I'd be good and better," end quote.
I think Fox, the parent company, wanted this to be over and done with. They're trying to have this be part of the past, not part of their future.
In an unprecedented public apology to Carlson, 21st Century Fox said, "We sincerely regret and apologize for the fact that Gretchen was not treated with the respect and dignity that she and all of our colleagues deserve." Carlson, whose contract expired in June, responded by saying, quote, "I'm ready to move on to the next chapter of my life in which I will redouble my efforts to empower women in the workplace." Roger Ailes, who has always denied these allegations, resigned from Fox News 2 weeks after the lawsuit was filed. His lawyers told ABC News he is not contributing to the $20 million settlement. And just minutes after the settlement was made, an abrupt statement announcing the departure of Fox News veteran Greta Van Susteren, who supported Ailes when the allegations first surfaced.
There's so much going on beyond on the record.
Fox News saying, "We are grateful for Greta's many contributions over the years and wish her continued success." Later that day, Greta writing on her Facebook page, "Fox has not felt like home for me for a few years." A source close to Greta told ABC News that she exercised what is called the key man clause in her contract, which allowed her to leave if Ailes was no longer at the helm. Van Susteren's husband said in a phone interview with The Times on Tuesday, "There's so much chaos, it's very hard to work there." All right, a lot to unpack, so let's bring in our panel. Mark Furnish is an adjunct professor at the Elizabeth Hobbs School of Law, at Pace University, and he has argued basically with everyone, but including before the U.S. Supreme Court. Mayo Bartlett is here, an attorney at the law offices of Mayo Bartlett PLLC. He's a former chief of the Bias Crimes Unit at the Westchester County DA's office, and one of the more noble figures, especially when it comes to civil rights cases.
All right. For that.
Yes. So let's first start with what happened. Ailes didn't write a check. The suit was against Ailes.
Right.
Fox chose to write a check for $20 million, and they wrote it with an apology, which was basically an acknowledgement that there was merit to her claims. Why did Fox do that?
Well, they did it for reasons of damage control, obviously. As the Hollywood Reporter said, they want to move as far away from this as they can. It's a news organization. It bills itself as being fair and balanced, whether you agree with that or not, and this is a blight on its credibility. So they obviously want to move past it. Why Ailes was named as the defendant, well, he's really a nominal defendant because, as I understand it, there were mandatory arbitration clauses in the plaintiff's agreement with Fox, and this is a way to get around the arbitration clause because they're not suing Fox, they're suing Ailes nominally, and Fox indemnifies Ailes maybe under the terms of his own employment agreement. So that's how that worked.
Do you think Ailes is off the hook now?
You know,
Ailes may be off the hook, but I think that a couple of things really strike me as being interesting here. One is that Fox is the news station that really goes against political correctness and tell people, you know, just suck it up and, you know, too bad someone hurt your feelings. And here, this is an example of political incorrectness run amok. And it went beyond whether you're politically correct or incorrect, but it went into actually violations of the law. But there is one thing that Fox may have done that I think is very admirable, assuming that's not part of the settlement, is to apologize. And if they did that of their own volition, then that's a very noble thing for Fox to do, because there's nothing wrong with being able to say you're sorry if in fact something happens and you were wrong.
Except from a purely monetary standpoint, this is not the only case. Right. And there's also another allegation, apparently by multiple people, one most notably, exactly, I got to assume her attorneys are going like this tonight, saying not only was there a settlement, precedent if you will, but an acknowledgement that wrong stuff was happening in the workplace. They didn't mention her, obviously, by name. They mentioned Gretchen Carlson, but do they have a little precedent to work off of?
Well, they do, and her attorney is my first legal boss and mentor, so he's salivating right now, and he would have been salivating even without the settlement. But look, they had the major New York law firm of Paul Weiss investigate this, the people who did the NFL investigation. Not the best precedent, by the way.
I was about to say, but yeah.
Not the best endorsement of them, but they obviously made a calculation that paying off any and all comers, and they know what's in the wind, is cheaper than fighting all these cases and dragging them out in court proceedings, and more importantly, better for PR. I mean, that's really what's driving
PR is really where it all comes down to, because it's not about the money. And if you look at the Murdochs, I mean, the $20 million to them is really a drop in the bucket, but you can ruin the brand and the name of Fox.
Yeah, I mean, to Mayo's point, it's very, very interesting. You know, it's tough for them to be, you know, the media turd in the punch bowl that's criticizing everybody when they're doing the same thing. So that's why they want to get past this as quickly as possible.
Here's the only part, guys, where I'm a little surprised at. Her lawsuit, Carlson's, was against Ailes directly. Ailes walked away, but we also know that he walked away $50 million or something as a package to go home. He is not rubbing nickels together here, hoping to make, you know, the monthly electric bill. My point is, why doesn't she still have a claim against him, since he was the alleged, not the alleged, he was the person that she claimed, documentation, if you believe the Sherman piece that's in New York Magazine and other places, that was the principal, not only offender, but orchestrator of
Well,
this.
she probably signed a release in exchange for this settlement.
No doubt, and as I said, he's just the nominal defendant, and I think it's a clever legal strategy to get around what would be a mandatory arbitration as opposed to a court proceeding. And so Ailes is not a party to the arbitration agreement, so you sue Ailes, that goes to court, and Fox indemnifies him, and that again is probably a term of Ailes' own contract.
It allows Fox to plausibly suggest that this is not their doing, it's Ailes' doing. He's gone.
But here's where I imagine the problem would exist.
I mean, Fox has deeper pockets than Ailes, to answer your question.
But in the industry, at least, Fox has always been an outlier for a lot of different reasons. Immensely successful, by the way, when you look at their profitability, let alone revenues they generate on an annual basis, period. And in a very short lifespan, as we look to broadcast entities from when they emerged, carving out a niche to all that. But nonetheless, it's a far looser environment. It didn't take this case to surprise anybody, at least in my world. So now all of a sudden there's a $20 million check. There's a formal acknowledgement of what they did was wrong. I gotta think the next time one of these cowboys says something at the water cooler improper and everything else, it's going to be a lot harder for Fox to say, I don't know what they're talking about. Is there now precedent, if you will, going forward, that they've got to clean up their act, even if they call this the PC stuff that everyone else acknowledges?
If Fox is smart, Fox will engage professionals to come in and to train their staff. They'll have a new employee handbook, and they will explicitly state that this
deniability if somebody else does it,
absolutely, right? That this is not acceptable to Fox, and that if you do it, it has nothing to do with them, and that you will be summarily terminated.
Well, I mean, they took steps to fire the malefactor, the prime bad actor, with remarkable speed. So who knows what that's about, whether it's just PR, maybe it was a toxic environment there, you don't know. But, you know, if he's really the guy who's driving this, as Mayo said, kudos to them for getting rid of them, whether it's a CYA move or whether it's genuine, it's still the right thing to do.
It'll be interesting if reportedly the next female on-air talent is told to get the skirt cut below the knee, above the knee, I should say, and there's a refusal how that plays out next. But more importantly, I should also say it's going to be very interesting on the political landscape. Roger Ailes reportedly has a very active role with the Trump campaign, and more than just active, he is one of the principal coaches here as we're leading up to the September 26th debate, the first presidential debate, actually in our neck of the woods at Hofstra University. And speaking of the Donald, his foundation donated $25,000 to the Florida Attorney General. That's after she did not pursue a case against Trump University. Then Trump paid the IRS a $2,500 penalty because of that very donation. He, of course, says he did nothing wrong. We'll talk to the table, though, whether or not he did.